The OECD dubs public procurement or sustainable public procurement as a sleeping giant. The reason for that is that in order to implement sustainable public procurement across the board, many different administrations have to decide to actually implement social and ecological criteria into their procurement.
Socially responsible public procurement is a key element for professionalizing the procurement organization and the procurement system. And it can actually also build in elements of this professionalization in a very good manner, for instance, in electronic procurement systems. However, when we look into the reality of German municipalities, the implementation of respective criteria is still on a very low scale. When it comes to ecological criteria, it's a bit better than when it comes to social criteria, but still we speak about, so it's very much about single pilot projects and not a very broad implementation. So many municipalities do not include respective criteria at all. So it is the exception, it is not the rule. Some municipalities have started some pilot projects where they integrated respective criteria, but only on a case-to-case basis. And a few municipalities really included socially responsible criteria or sustainability criteria overall in their process of professionalizing their whole procurement organization, such as Dortmund or Bremen. Those municipalities are actually the most successful.
We looked into municipalities in Great Britain, in the Netherlands or in Sweden and saw that they have kind of the same biases as German municipalities have. For example, ecological factors are much more prevalent than social factors in sustainable public procurement. But when it comes to the overall implementation of sustainable public procurements, European municipalities are a little bit ahead of what is happening in Germany, actually. When it comes to the regulatory dimension, we see that a lot of municipalities have very precise action plans in place to implement social criteria into their public procurement. They underlie this with measurable indicators and define very concrete measures to reach their goal. This is something that is often amiss in German municipalities. When it comes to the very important institutional dimension, we see that a lot of not only municipalities but also a lot of national governments introduced institutions that can help municipalities and support municipalities in dealing effectively and efficient with sustainable public procurement. In Germany, there are also institutions on the federal level where municipalities can get help and support for these efforts, but it is less prevalent than it is in other country contexts. When it comes to the individual dimension, the culture within the administration is a very important factor. What we saw in European examples is that ecological and social aspects have been successfully implemented into the working culture in these administrations from top to bottom, so to say. And this is something that could also help many German municipalities to create some kind of like security and safety for the procurers, for example, when it comes to implementing social responsible public procurement. Our recommendation for procurers and also personnel that supports procurers in the different administrations is to have an extensive exchange with other procurers, but also with public and civil society organizations that can support them in their efforts to implement social criteria and other sustainability criteria into their public procurement.
In our view, municipal decision makers should strengthen the competencies of the central procurement unit on the one hand, and on the other hand, make communication structures between involved departments more effective and transparent. On the other hand, they should make resources available to hire new persons to implement the respective criteria or help implementing those criteria, or at least provide existing personnel with respective competencies to do so.